The Talmud postulates that truth can be argued. Like, if you can make a great argument, that's the truth. You get whatever you get away with. Sharia is fixed. And there's leeway in Sharia, but it's mostly fixed. My dad was a rhetoric professor. And so I was raised in a very Talmudic environment where we would play a game called Just Hear Me Out, where we would be assigned, my brother and I would be assigned, an argument that we would have to make, like anything, like that human beings should eat grass, not beef. Or, the most fertile tree is in the winter, like something insane. And we would have to come up with an argument to try and convince someone that that is the truth. So I'm raised that way. Like, I understand that. The reason I warn people against that way of thinking is it makes you insane. Like, my parents had me later in life, and my mother is not Talmudic at all. She's very salt of the earth Germanic. My dad is very, very Talmudic. Like, whatever he can argue, whatever he can get away with is the truth. The truth doesn't exist outside of his own will. And I understand that. Like, I'm familiar with it. This isn't quote unquote anti-Semitism. It's a deep philosophical thing where, you end up being so unbridled and unmoored to reality that you go completely nuts. And my parents had me later in life, so I got to see the end of the road for where this goes. My parents are in their 80s now, and my mom is totally normal and happy and functional, and my dad has no idea what reality is and is miserable. Because the game of truth is whatever we can argue and get away with ends very badly for the people participating in that. They don't actually believe anything. And that's the Talmud. Okay, that's their worldview. And there's Jews that have an honest worldview. But if you analyze what the Talmud is on a fundamental level, it's not a book of rules. It's a book of debates. Okay, so rabbis 500 years ago would debate on what age can you bang a little kid. And that debate is what they reference for when they're passing judgment. Like, the Talmud argues that if you tie up a man, this is in the Talmud, if you tie up a man and he starves to death, you did not kill that man. That man killed himself because his body killed himself. All right, even though you tied him up and wouldn't let him get food. That's the type of thinking you're dealing with. And that's why when you're looking at a lot of Arabic countries, you're looking at Russia, you're looking at China, these people don't want to engage in diplomacy with America anymore, or Israel, because they know they're dealing with loophole-seeking, conniving leprechauns. Because that's the nature of the Talmud. They will say, oh, we won't drop any bombs, and then they'll redefine the word bomb. The Talmud is pathos for pathology, which is emotion, and Sharia is logos, logic, that which doesn't change, the rules, laws of nature. And then the Christian is more on the path of redemption, which is a great path. Don't get me wrong. Like, a lot of Christians I know are on a great path for self-governance, which I'm a big fan of, But Christians don't really structure laws in a society because it's more of a personal journey, which is why the Islamic-Jewish clash is so fundamental. Is truth static, or is truth whatever you can argue? And this is why you're not going to see a lot of quote-unquote peace in the Middle East, because it's based on that fundamental worldview.
What's so interesting about this video is I've been saying for months that Zios do not use logic in their arguments. They use logical fallacies. And if you don't know what a logical fallacy is, please Google it and read every single example of them, because that is going to help you in your arguments and your debates with people like that. But that is literally all they use. They do not rely on facts and evidence. It's all about what they can argue. And that's why they have that Hasbara handbook, or the Zionist playbook. It's actually a thing. It just explains so much.